Today we're going to look at some of the strategies that you may not have seen before in Algebra 2. So I'm not calling it a review, I'm just calling it factoring part 2. And we're going to start factoring cubic functions as well. So the first strategy is grouping. And we already went over the strategy of grouping for quadratics. So when there are 4 terms, and it should be in standard form, you could use a strategy called grouping. So you group together the first 2 terms and the last 2 terms, and your next step is to find the greatest common factor within each of the pairs. And so the first greatest common factor is x squared. And when I factor out x squared, I have x minus 3 left. And I'm kind of looking to see if I can get x minus 3 from this second part of the function here. A little blurry. So I can factor out a negative 16, and if I take out negative 16, I get x minus 3. So the two x minus 3's can get factored out, and then I would have left x squared minus 16. And you should always look to go one step further. So notice this is a quadratic and it's a difference of squares. So I can actually go one step further. So my final factored answer would be x minus 3, x minus 4, x plus 4. So it's a cubic function, so it actually has 3 factors. So you might want to try pausing the video and trying this one on your own before you watch the video. So I'm going to go ahead and group together the first 2 terms and the last 2 terms. My greatest common factor here would be x squared. I have 2x minus 5 left. And this term, the only thing I can factor out is a 1. So the greatest common factor is 1, and that leaves me 2x minus 5 left. If these don't come out the same, then it's not factorable by grouping. So now I can take out my 2x minus 5, and I have left x squared plus 1 this time. And x squared plus 1 is not factorable because it's the sum of squares. So I have taken this cubic function as far as I can go. So here are some new formulas for you. Like up here, we have the difference of squares, and we cannot factor the sum of squares. We can factor the sum and the difference of cubes. So here are the factoring formulas. You don't have to memorize these, so if this was on a quiz or a test, I would give you these factoring patterns. I just have them memorized because I've done this enough. So what you do is this is your a cubed term and this is your b cubed term. So for this first expression, we're looking over here because it's a cubed minus b cubed. So basically you're going to take the cube root of each of the terms and that becomes your first parenthesis. So my first parenthesis is going to be x minus 2. The cube root of x cubed is x, and the cube root of 8 is 2. And I'm looking at the minus sign. There's a minus sign in this first binomial. So now I'm going to make this next trinomial. So to make the trinomial, I'm going to take this a term and just square it. So that would become x squared. Then I'm going to write a plus sign because in the formula it says use a plus sign. Then I'm going to multiply a times b. So 2 times x is 2x. I'm using the plus sign because it told me to use a plus sign. So even though you want to think, oh, this is negative 2x, nope, it's 2 times x with a positive sign because the formula says it's positive. And then the last term is plus b squared, so plus 4. And this trinomial is not factorable any further. So that is as far as you need to go. So let's do the same thing, but this time we have the sum of a sum of cubes. So I've got a plus sign. So I'm going to look at this formula over here. And we might need to review the perfect cubes. 1 cubed is 1, 2 cubed is 8, 3 cubed is 27, 4 cubed is 64, 5 cubed is 125, 10 cubed is 1,000. So there's some in between, but I would have to use my calculator to figure those out. So if you notice, I pretty much just used the ones I just listed. Okay, so I'm going to take the cube root of each of these terms. So I'd have 10x plus 1 for my binomial. And then I'm going to take the pattern over here and do a squared. So 10x times 10x is 100x squared. And then it says put a minus sign. 10x times 1 is 10x. Then it says to put a plus sign. Oops, I ran out of room. And then 1 times 1 is 1. So this should say 10x plus 1, 100x squared minus 10x plus 1. All right, so the last one here, I'm just going to put down below, I'm taking the minus over here pattern. So take the cube root, you'd get 4x. Take the cube root, you'd get 5. So 4x minus 5. And then I'm going to do 4x times 4x, 16x squared. It says to put a plus sign. 4x times 5 is 20x. It says put a plus sign. And 5 squared is 25. So there's my last one that's factored. So the last new strategy for today is factoring using something called quadratic form. So if you notice, these are fourth degree polynomials, but it goes fourth degree, second degree constant. So what they're saying about quadratic form is if you thought about this just as a quadratic x squared and then linear and then constant, it should factor pretty easily. So if I factored this, it would be x plus 3 times x plus 1, right? Because 3 times 1 is 3, outer plus inner add up to 4x. Well, I don't want to get just x squared. I want to get x to the fourth. So all you have to do is make each of your x's inside the parenthesis squared. So x squared times x squared is x to the fourth. Outer plus inner add up to 4x squared, and 3 times 1 is 3. So you're thinking about it like you're factoring a quadratic, but then you can just add your squareds at the end. So same thing here, 5x squared minus 9x plus 4 is really what I'm thinking about factoring. So this looks like a box method problem. 5x squared and 4. 5 times 4 is 20. So I'm looking for the factors of 20 that add up to negative 9. So negative 4 times negative 5. Negative 4x, negative 5x. So this looks like 5x times x and negative 4 and negative 1. Negative 4 times negative 1 is 4. So 5x minus 4 times x minus 1, make this a 5x squared and this an x squared. So then I need to take this one step further, that this would be x plus 1, x minus 1, because I ended up with a difference of squares only in this term. So what I'd like you to do is go through and practice those strategies on this back page and take a picture of this back page and send it to me. And then don't forget, you need to also do homework number 4. And so you need to also send me homework number 4. So credit for today's work, this guided practice, and then a separate little check is getting your homework 4 completed by tomorrow. Thanks.